Hello and welcome to today's episode of Voices of Cricket. And this person doesn't strictly conform to the cricket part of it, although his grounding is right there. Hi, Jamie. Welcome to the show.
Anand, lovely to hear your voice. Also lovely to see your face. And how are things in Adelaide? Were you at lockdown?
I'm supposed to be the one asking the questions, by the way, but I see you've already turned the
We
tables.
have we have rules in this show, huh? Okay. I didn't know rules applied to us.
No. Like I was telling someone else recently, if you have to be stuck somewhere during lockdown, there's no place like Adelaide. Distant, maybe New Zealand would come close. I know that you're a fan of New Zealand as well. There you go. I don't think you should be walking around wearing a black cap shirt because I heard that you're already being mistaken for, was it Kane Williamson or Dan Vettori?
Ian Williamson, Dan Vettori, the most common, when I play cricket on the weekend, when I used to play here now because of lockdown. Hey, Johnny Bairstow. Hey, Johnny Bairstow. Hey, Johnny Bairstow. Hey, Ben Stokes. I've been called Ian O'Brien, Ben Stokes, albino Ben Stokes. I mean, you really can't get more whiter than Ben Stokes. So I don't know what an albino Ben Stokes is, but yeah, it's okay. I've actually done this to confuse people. A couple other videos where I give some pithy two lines on cricket. I wear the New Zealand World Cup jersey and then a retro jersey. I said the only one I've not worn is the Test one. So let's confuse people on your show.
But given that you play club cricket in Delhi, are you sure that they're calling you Ben Stokes?
It is North India after all, and it is Delhi, a city where you've lived for a while. Virat Kohli city also. There are a couple of things added on to Ben Stokes, but I know when it's Ben Stokes and when it's hey, how you doing, champ? So yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's get down to business now. Um I deliberately just said Jamie when I introduced you because I think you get quite a few questions about your surname. I once spoke to Rohan Gavaskar many years ago when I was interviewing him, and I asked him, what was it like, having that Gavaskar name all the time, especially, following the father into the same profession. And he said, look, yeah, to other people it might sound like a hassle or it might seem like a pain, but all that it's given me, all the advantages it's given me, the respect that people have for my father and for the surname, wouldn't trade that for, you don't mind the hassle. Is that is that a similar experience for you, being Tom Alter's son all the time?
Yeah, I think I have to totally agree with what Rohan said. Um, right from, I mean, I could go on about the childhood days, but let's not go that deep. Let's say from the time that even I started out in the same line which we are in, even from there, just I will be honest, there is an advantage if you're speaking because my father, people know his love for cricket and the fact that he also dabbled in journalism, and of course, there's that very famous video interview of Sachin. So immediately when I got off into this line of work years ago, people know, oh, it's great to have you. We remember your father's news articles in this magazine, that clipping, and of course the such interview. So it's been a help, and all throughout, anytime. Obviously now we're in this phase of YouTube. Even there, and so many of the comments have been about, oh, it's great to see you come in front of the camera like your father. That's why I've done so many videos on him because it's because of people asking me, please give us some unsune kisse about Mr. Alter and stuff. So I fully agree with that. Um, there is a bit of it's a privilege, but it's also you have to understand that when you have a certain name attached to you, people do expect you to behave a certain way, and which is fine. You can say it's a legacy, you can say it's the shadow, but especially now with my father having passed nearly 3 years ago, I'm very aware, very conscious of a certain legacy which is there. But yeah, like Rohan said, I also wouldn't swap it for anything in the world.
And it's not just your father. I mean, I'm familiar with your uncle Stephen Alter's writing and others in the family. It's a family that is steeped in the arts, in writing, in theater, in performance of various different kinds. So was it kind of just expected and natural that you also head that way?
I can say yes, look, sitting here after having been in the same line as you for 15 odd years. But no, very, very honestly, we were always exposed to the arts, more so the written word than anything else. Because like you've just outlined, my father's cousin Steve has written 15, 16 odd books. I know you read two of them. He's there. Then my father's elder sister, Dr. Martha Chen, she's she's been an NGO worker and a scholar and a teacher. She has many books published. My father's elder brother John is a poet. So yeah, books have always been around us. We've been exposed to the English language. Um, it's funny because when I was in the US in college, I spent so much time on this little website called Cricinfo. And my friends used to say, "Yeah, what are you wasting your time studying political science, international relations? You should just go back to India and work for Cricinfo." And at the time, I'm like, "Yeah, but you can't be 20, 21 and just go to Cricinfo." Little did I know the guy I'm speaking to did did just that. Let this truck pass by. I don't know if that's disrupting us. In a lockdown, we have vehicles going on in Noida. Anand, I don't know about Adelaide. There's a tractor going the wrong way, I must point out. But yeah, anyways, it was sort of inevitable that I did fall back onto something which involved words. So yeah, the journalist part of my career is very much rooted in that, and then just movies and arts and stuff. I guess I was drawn to it. Maybe I tried to run the other way for a while, but here I am. Yeah.
Let's switch from what you are and what you're doing to what you could have done. If you could have been like any one cricketer historically, who would you choose to be?
Choose to be. Oh, jeez. राहुल नाम तो सुना होगा ना?
I know you fancy yourself as a bit of a batsman. So.
Yeah, I still do. In fact, I hit a boundary this season. I normally bat number 9, 10, 11 by design. So, yeah. No, I think just I've always been endeared more to the Dravids and the Gangulis as opposed to the Sachins and the Laras. Of course, we all go through phases when we adore batsmen like Lara and Sachin Tendulkar. But the guys who sort of like with the Ganguly, that flaw, obviously the awkward stance, the blinking eyes. I'm talking about that Ganguly when he first burst into our vision in 96, 97, forget the 92 tour. But yeah, I think Dravid many times, when you're 15, 16, you're playing gully cricket, you're playing tennis ball cricket, you do naturally sort of adapt to who you like. And I think Dravid, because the way he started out was the time I really started getting into cricket as a teenager. So I would go for him, just the sheer hard work and just the attitude he had. Yeah.
Well,
Dravid.
moving swiftly on from that, I know you've done at least one movie that we haven't quite seen on the big screen yet, and you have a successful web series running in Afsoos. But if you could play one role of a specific character in a specific movie historically, which one would it be?
Andy Dufresne in The Shawshank Redemption or Kevin Costner's character in Field of Dreams?
And why?
Andy Dufresne, I think just because it's just a fantastic role. The role was not so big in the original novella by Stephen King, but the role which came forth in that very famous movie, of course, Shawshank Redemption, probably my all-time favorite movie. Just the way that guy's character graph, how the situation he finds himself in, and what obviously I'm expecting people to have watched this movie without giving it away. The situation that he finds himself, how he intends to solve it, how he does not succeed in doing that, and how he gets framed and how he ends up in jail, and then all those years, right from the last scene when he meets Morgan Freeman's character in that, what's the name of that place? Whatever it was, not Guadalajara, but that place. That's a fantastic role. And then Kevin Costner's role, because I just love that movie. It came out in the late 80s, and I remember we were on a family trip in the US. And I think my mom and the other relatives were all in a mall shopping. And my dad and I didn't like. My dad, he hated malls. He said, "You want to watch a movie?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So we went and watched, and he had a soft spot for baseball. So just that movie, it's a fantasy movie, but there's a scene which really still, now I can say it on camera, it really chokes me up. More so now that my father's not around. But I encourage people to watch that movie for the scene I'm talking about. So yeah, these two roles, I think.
Right. I think some of your Indian fans might be a little disappointed with your choices. There should have been at least one epic Hindi movie role.
Amir Khan in Rangila.
Right. And I remember going to the movies with you in Bombay a couple of times, and that was always an interesting experience. I'm sure it continues to be. and you've been asked about it 1,000 times, but just for that one person who's watching this video who hasn't watched any of your previous interviews or hasn't read what you've, what is it
I
like?
hope
I
there's
mean,
more than one.
what is it like still, like till date? I mean, given that your father was, in the consciousness for so long and he was such a public figure, and his Urdu and Hindi, of course, are well known. What is it like to still constantly, like, surprise people when you speak in Hindi?
It's something which is not going to go away anytime soon. It's not about whether I stay in India or I move somewhere else. Like I said so many times, I sort of stand out wherever I go. Um, I could be walking down the street in Adelaide, or I don't know, Durban or London or Christchurch or Boston. I may look like them, but the moment I open my mouth, I'm going to stand out no matter where I am. But yeah, it's coming back to the India part. It happens, and I think one of the great things about this whole phase of YouTube that I'm going through is I get to connect to people in a different way. I mean, a lot of people, and I just say, you know what, you have certain misconceptions here. Let me clear them, or you know, let me tell you more about myself. But you spoke about those days in Bombay and then later Bangalore watching movies. We have a common friend, Mr. George Binoy, who used to be at Cricinfo like all of us. We watched this film called Bluffmaster. I know you've heard this story, but let me tell people here. Abhishek Bachchan movie came out in 2006, 5 or 6, 6, I think. So we were watching it very near our old office in Andheri. And George is his Hindi is not his first language. Let's keep it like that. So he kept leaning over and asking me, "Hey man, what's this guy saying?" So I was giving fleeting translation in the interval, as all movies in India still have. There's a couple behind us, and the guy said to his friend, to his girlfriend, I think it was. He said, "यार ये कितना बड़ा blankety blank है. ये गोरे से पूछ रहा है हिंदी मूवी में क्या हो रहा है?" Which basically translates to us, in case people here don't speak Hindi, why is the Indian guy asking the white guy what's happening in a Hindi movie? So that's just one small incident which sort of sums up my life, which you know a whole lot about. So yeah, I'm totally used to it now, and I'm sure there's a book and all this somewhere. Mm.
And there've been other people in your family who've explored this theme a little bit more, having roots in one country, but being having been in another so long that you almost have roots here as well. And it's not. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how to explain it, because it's not like someone who's moved 20 years ago or moved one
No.
lifetime.
No.
It's over generations. Is that something that you also have to work with for yourself,
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
interactions with others?
Absolutely, because as you can assume, I mean, India being a country which was ruled by the Brits for so long, one of the most common assumptions is that the Brits have gone, but they've left this family back, which is not the case. First of all, my family that does not even have a single Brit. We trace our roots to North America in 1916. Over 100, what are we at? 104 odd years ago. My great grandfather came to India on work. My grandfather was born here. My father was born here. I was born here. My son is born here. There've been many, many alters down the years have been born here. So yeah, I mean, I have to understand obviously that lineage, and we didn't just drop from an airplane or any stone hippie leftover. There is a very deep, deep association with India and with this part of the world, which initially, I mean, probably to some extent, I was very confused about, growing at a younger age. Very briefly, thankfully. But I personally just embraced the fact that, you are, I'll use the word bicultural, because that's really what it is. Though we don't have any Indian blood in us, we are, at least me and my father, we definitely felt like Indians, because this is the country where we were born, where we grew up. But interestingly enough, it took both of us to go to the US, the East Coast to be precise, to realize that we actually don't fit in here. We can try fleetingly to go overseas and try and see what it's like, maybe even attempt a life there. But we both realized, no, this is not for us. Whereas many others have left India. Only my uncle Steve, as you know, um, came back about 15 odd years ago and now has made India his home. So yeah, definitely I am very aware of the fact that of the history and the legacy associated with my family in these parts.
And you've lived in Delhi, you've lived in Bangalore, you had a brief stint in Colombo, you've lived in America, and of course, you've traveled around the world covering cricket and otherwise. Um, if you could choose to live anywhere you wanted. And I should also mention Dehradun and Mussoorie, and your love for Mussoorie is I've seen that firsthand. If you could choose to live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Anand, probably late high school towards the college years, as your mind starts to drift about what the next stage. I remember someone asked me this same question, and back then I said New Zealand out of the blue. I didn't really know anybody from. I just said New Zealand, and then someone said why. I said, you know what? Because if I go to the States, I have enough family there. People are gonna. I mean, I want to go to a place where no one really knows me and there's no family. I have an uncle in Australia, which is not very far. But somehow I said that off the top of my head, and then years later, I went for the first time. You were there on that same trip, and as you mentioned, I just fell in love with that place. And having spent 5-6 weeks there during that 2015 World Cup, I realized that I was not far off in my statement all those years ago as a teenager. Something about that place, just the people, the natural beauty. I think any country where there's less people and more sheep, it just has something going for it. I mean, I don't need to preach to you or anyone who's gone there. So I would, in a heartbeat, just go there. I don't know what I would do, but if things worked out, I would be in New Zealand, anywhere in New Zealand, even a place like Napier. Actually, I'll take that back. Maybe not Hamilton. I think Hamilton is a dead zone, but anywhere else in New Zealand, I would happily settle there, just for the natural beauty and the people. I mean, yeah, great place.
Don't you think there's a little bit of an irony here, though, where especially in these times of social media and things like that, where people are doing everything to be more popular, to be more well known, to create a name for themselves, to create a brand for themselves, and here you are, someone who like has a ready-made name and brand, and what you're looking for is anonymity and like looking for a place where no one knows.
In that sense, yeah, I mean, that is a very, very good question. You see, there was no, if you're talking about this whole brand building, it wasn't that the intention was not that when I put up my first video on YouTube. Um, so while you could use the term brand being built, it was not any conscious plan. It was just, let's just start shooting videos and see where they go. But then going back to your question about that last name, Alter, and it being linked with my father, so many of my viewers came to see what Tom Walter's son is doing, and to learn more about my father. So the anonymity bit would still, I mean, I would love to head off to a smaller place. But to be fair, I would still shoot the videos from there. Um, but especially now in these lockdown times, it's very easy to sit here and say, "Oh, I wish I could flee." But it is a genuine concern for many people to find a place where there is less chances of things like the virus or the financial lockdown or even hate politics. I can say it now because of where I am right now. So I think to my mind, something like New Zealand would be an apt place to just disappear. And if I didn't have a family, I probably would just go there and just get into a back of a pickup truck and pick apples there. Sounds great.
Well, I have walked the streets of Dunedin with you, and I know that you're quite happy. And that's about as remote and tiny as it gets in comparison to Delhi, where you live. But there must be things about Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore also that you identify strongly with, because these are places where there's. I know that you have ties with the food and with the music and the movies and the writing and cricket, and how would you turn your back on these things?
Yeah, it would be next to impossible for me to turn my back on all these things. But I think again, here we're talking like I'm going to be going there the moment the lockdown is done, which is not the case. No, look, this is my home. This is where I've been. You mentioned a few cities where I've lived. A strong association with of course, Bombay, because that's where I spent a lot of years growing up. My father being in that film line. I mean, the amount of times we grew up, visited film sets and TV sets. So that part of me, I mean, for the longest time, I thought there was no cooler place than Bombay. When I moved to Delhi in 2011, I was like, man, where am I now? But look, I'm here almost 9 years later. I've grown to like this place. I've grown to like Noida. Obviously, wherever you go, you make friends. You set up, you establish contact. You make friends. Work takes you places. So it's not like I'm very. I mean, I'm not going to leave this place. And I Indian. I think wherever there's Bollywood and wherever there's cricket, I'm going to have that that sense of belonging with both these things. It's actually funny because, as you know, it's been 15 years of cricket. Only now I'm sort of tapping into that whole Bollywood side of me, which I know I suppressed for the longest time. Maybe it was at my ankles or my toes. Now it's probably near my knees. Let's see how far it rises during this time.
And tell me a bit about your bond with Mussoorie and with Landor in particular. I mean, it's a magical place, having been there a couple of times. But your connections go deeper and go beyond just how beautiful it is, and that sort of thing.
Anand, I mean, I'm very blessed and very fortunate that someone in my family chose that place as a base. There's a school there, very old school, over 150, 60 odd years, called Woodstock School. So in all, there's been about over 30 of my relatives have been going there. One of my grandfather's brother was the principal there for 10 years. I think having that association with the school, and then when you're in the school, you obviously are in Landauer. It's just a beautiful. I know you've been there, and anyone watching this video who's been there will know what I'm talking about. So I consider myself extremely fortunate, to have had the chance to grow up in a place like that, which you can imagine the 80s, without the pollution, without the traffic, was really a slice of heaven. Um, in fact, one of my uncle's Steve's book, his memoirs were called All the Way to Heaven, and you can understand where he draws that name from. And even now, the fact that we have a house, and so I never knew my grandfather on my father's side. The fact that he realized that even after he's gone, his family is going to need a place to just forget staying, to have a place to just fall back on. So our lovely cottage we have there in Mussoorie, which, as you know, is the last house on the hillside, that part of the hillside, Landauer. Very blessed to have that, and more than any other place in the world, for obvious reasons, that's where I love to fall back on. Very nice that I'm in a place like Noida, where it's just so close as compared to Bangalore, Bombay, and of course Colombo. Now with the roads better, I can just start the car any given time and just drive there for a couple of days. So it's a place where I also hope to move back to and settle. Be a great place to raise kids. So who knows where life will take us? But I would jump back. I would definitely go to Mussoorie tomorrow if someone gave me a chance. And I know you would join me there happily.
And one final question. I don't know if you've seen this, but there's this little video that's circulating on social media and in various things. It has this journalist interviewing this young boy in a Maidan in Bombay. You might be familiar with that one. Do you think it's time perhaps for you to go out to a Maidan and find a young cricketer to interview like that?
I got this video in the last week. I think this young player had a birthday recently. So probably half a dozen of these video links popped up, and I was like, this name sounds familiar. Yeah, of course, you know who I'm talking about. Look, in fact, this question was asked to me on YouTube or Twitter yesterday, and it's like, how does one go out and even try and find the next Sachin Tendulkar? Maybe in a different time when things were better, I would actually no. I think if opportunity arises, why not just go out and start? I mean, I'm in a place like Delhi NCR, where literally, if you just even spit, to say it crudely, you will find a lovely cricket ground more than any other city in this country. So maybe I will take you up on that question, as well as the person who asked this question on social media, and try and find. Though of course, I think, like my father and the person he was with when Ayaz Memon, the senior journalist, when they went and did that interview with Sachin Tendulkar all those years ago, more than 33 odd years ago, they knew exactly who they were speaking to and who they were looking for. Unlike if we were to go out now, we would perhaps take a bit of a punt. But it's a very good question. Maybe I will do that. But I would need you to also be there, Anand, for this. So we hope you come back from Australia soon. And the two of us, who knows?
And to answer your question, which might have been rhetorical, but I'm going to answer it anyway. You said, like, how do you find the next Tendulkar? Well, I'm guessing that one way to try and do that, you use the next alter, of course. What other way to do it?
Altered state, huh? Sure.
Thank you very much for talking to me, Jamie.
It has been a pleasure. Anand, I want to show something to our viewers here. I don't know if they can see this. This shirt, I'm going to hide myself. Anyways, this lovely black t-shirt with a collar, which is my favorite. I don't like round neck t-shirts. Thank you, Anand. This T-shirt, viewers, our host Anand Vasu made for me and three of our colleagues who spent roughly 5 or 6 magical weeks in 2015 in the Neverland called New Zealand and briefly in Australia. This group of 4 or 5 people, we chose New Zealand over Australia for very specific reasons. So a lot of great memories associated with Anand going back to 2005. But yeah, so this video is something with this T-shirt is something that I cherish. It 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 may seem sort of cheesy to some initially, but a lot of memories. And Anand, we need to meet more. I think we only meet now during World Cups every 4 years. Let's stop this, okay? Let's meet more often.
We should, and maybe next time we meet in Mussoorie.
Any day. You come back when all this madness is over, and also I want to say one more thing. I know we've spoken for a lot. I want people to really tune in to this channel. I've known Anand uh, as a person since 2006, but I've been reading his work for about many years before that, and he's on to something really good here. And I hope this channel grows. And forget the channel. If you've not read his work, go to the archives of Cricinfo and Wisden and Hindustan Times. And he's gonna be like, okay, Jamie, shut up and stop promoting my thing. But really, I mean this. He's a great guy. Privileged to know him as a friend and as a colleague. So all the best, Anand, for this channel.
Okay, now we certainly have to end this video. That's enough of that.